And a lot of it is trying to implement the culture that he wants through special teams, right? And that's how I look at being a special teams coordinator. It's like head coaches talk to the team the most, the strength coach does as well, and then you have special teams coordinator. Like they talk to the team the most. And so trying to find the culture that he wants, and just we have the same vision and the same values that we're going to preach out to the kids.
Welcome to Inside the Headset, presented by CoachComm. Each episode pulls back the curtain on the coaching profession, spotlighting voices from every level of the game and offering lessons and insights for your own path. But first, a word from CoachComm.
When the game's on the line, your play call can mean the difference between winning and losing. Don't let poor communication cost you the game. For 35 years, CoachComm has been the trusted leader in coaching communication, delivering solutions with unmatched sound quality, performance, and durability. That's why thousands of coaches in high schools across the country trust CoachComm. You put in the hours to prepare. Make sure your communication delivers when it counts. CoachComm, giving coaches the ultimate competitive edge. Visit CoachComm.com to learn more.
Follow Inside the Headset on your favorite podcast platform and subscribe to our YouTube channel for exclusive content. If you enjoyed this episode, please give it a like and leave a review. It really helps others discover the show. We drop new episodes each week, so hit that follow button and never miss a moment. Now, let's get inside the headset.
Coach Alexander, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Man, I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm excited about hopping on with you, man. I probably my favorite fact I learned about you, I'll go ahead and talk about it real quick before we get in the podcast, is that not only did you play football in college, you played some basketball, and that's my secret fantasy. I wish I was an NBA player. I love basketball, man. So that's pretty cool and unique, huh?
Yeah, yeah. It's a crazy story. It's kind of part of my coaching journey, actually. But I was very blessed. Basketball was always like kind of my first love.
Yeah,
I was just always better at football, you know. And I'm a 6-foot white guy. It doesn't happen very often to be a good basketball player. So,
yeah.
But I do love playing basketball a lot.
Well, if you get on a staff that does the noon hoops thing, I'm sure you're first pick, man. That's big time. Well, anyways, man, every time we hop on a podcast, one of the first things we always ask is, when did you know you want to be a part of this great profession?
Yes, sir. So my journey is a little bit different. When I grew up in a small town in Colorado, my dad was my high school DB coach, but he was also an orthodontist, and so he just kind of coached on the side. He big football family, grew up in Texas. He played football at Texas Tech. My grandpa played football at Texas Tech. And so I grew up loving the Red Raiders and loving football, and really all sports. In my high school senior year, I didn't really get recruited a ton. And so I ended up going to Colorado Mesa University. They gave me an opportunity. And I went there, and I played for 2 years. And I had a career-ending neck injury like week 7 of my redshirt freshman year, to where they told me I couldn't play football anymore. And so it was a kind of a long story. Saw a bunch of doctors, and I just couldn't get cleared. And so that's where my head coach, his name is Joe Romano, amazing man. He's actually the high school head coach at Palisade High School. He's awesome, amazing human, amazing coach. He's like, Mac, why don't you come coach? I'll keep your scholarship and come coach with us. And so that's what I did that next fall. And that's where I knew I wanted to be a football coach. Like, this is what I want to do. It was awesome. Probably I was just a young guy coaching a bunch of my buddies. I didn't know anything, but it was an awesome opportunity. But at the same time, I struggled because I still wanted to compete.
Yeah.
I still wanted to play. The whole transferring thing wasn't a big thing when I was back in college, and so I was like, all right, I'm gonna try to walk on the basketball team. So I had an opportunity to walk on. Did a little tryout. Somehow my head coach, his name is Jim Heath, was awesome. Gave me an opportunity. I was in football shape. I had to lose some weight. I had to get in better shape. And so I ended up playing basketball for 3 years. Yeah. And it was crazy. Real crazy. It was a good time, though.
Now, when you were playing basketball, were you also still student assistant for the football team?
I ended up not. I was like, I'm going to commit to basketball.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm going to play, I'm going to play. Because
Right.
their season's different. It's just like we work all summer, and then we train like during the fall. And so I tried to do it my first year playing basketball, but I just couldn't do it. There wasn't enough time. And so I was like, I'm just going to play basketball. And it worked out great. My first 2 years playing basketball, I was one of those guys that you see that get in when we were up by 20 or down by 20. That was kind of my role. A practice player. And then my senior year, I played in every game and averaged 10 to 12 minutes, and kind of actually got back into basketball shape and got better. So it's really just part of my story because I had to really work to get back to it. I went from being kind of a starter in football and had to work my way back into it in basketball.
Yeah, adversity. I mean, all the little things that kind of come up through the profession and probably in life in general, having to overcome that. But you did get, like you said, got a little taste of being a student assistant. Now I can imagine that, obviously, yeah, you're young. I mean, I've seen some of the guys have similar stories where they get hurt in college and student assists in their junior to senior year. They're older, a little more established, and maybe take it a little bit more serious. How involved were you at that point in time as a kind of as a freshman, sophomore, being a football assistant?
Yeah, I was somewhat involved. My DB coach, Coach A, was awesome. Just kind of let me roll with it, and then I kind of got to do whatever he let me do. I did. I didn't really know anything. It was actually right when Huddle was coming out, and so learning how to break down film. While also being a student, it was fun. It was just challenging for me because I still wanted to play and compete. That's why I was into basketball. Now, my last semester, as soon as I was done hooping, my last semester of college, I interned. I did my internship with football.
Okay.
The new coaching staff came into Mesa, and so I was like, all right, I'm just gonna go intern. And so that's when I really started to I just showed up every day and worked my way into the defensive staff that was there and the head coach that was there. That was my last semester of college. And that was awesome. The coach, his name's Marcus Patton. He was defense coordinator at the time. Didn't know me at all and just gave me an opportunity to work with the DBs with him. And that basically internship turned into a GA role that next fall for me. And then that's when I started coaching the safeties and kind of my coaching journey started.
Right. So, like I mentioned, you kind of had a little bit of a taste, and then you come back around after basketball's over. You get this opportunity with a new staff, right? So you're looking at football probably from a whole different perspective too. Anyways, because you're kind of getting to know these guys. I say this every time on the podcast is I think about some of my first opportunities, kind of break down film and be up at 6 a.m. drinking coffee, trying to figure that thing out. Young in the profession. Some days you're like, God dang, what am I doing here? You know what I mean? And did you have any of those moments as you were kind of, still in college to a certain extent? I guess it was your last semester, and you're like, man, this is a little bit of a grind, or, this is difficult sitting up here, watching film until my eyes bleed type situation.
Yeah.
Did you have any of those moments, Orlando?
I think all young coaches, I think we all do.
Yeah.
I think we all have those times like, man, what am I doing?
Right. But
then something happens where either you help a kid or you figure something out for the first time, you learn ways to coach better, and you're like, all right, yeah, this is what I want to do.
Cool.
And you're like, I'm good. Yeah, and at that time, like, I was engaged, but like I didn't have anything. I just wanted to coach ball and just trying to figure it out. Really, I've been away from the game for so long. I dedicated my life to basketball. I even thought about being a basketball coach, but no offense to basketball players, kids are just different. Basketball players are just different. Yeah. And football is just more up my alley, what I wanted to do. So, I think we all have those times. It's just, if you want to do it, you figure it out very quickly.
That's
right. If you want to be, especially like a D2 level, I was making $5,000, a year.
Right.
And so like, if you want to do it, you got to figure that out, working other jobs when you can. And it's what you want to do.
Right. Yeah. You got to make those sacrifices, take out a student loan, whatever the obstacle it is to overcome the financial part of it. And then the grind, the different hats. And, I know you didn't do this all at the same time, but even in your couple of years there as a GA, I believe you work with multiple positions, if not all three, front backers and on the back end. So what was it like to kind of get that heap of experience, so early, right? All different levels of the defense. What was it like to kind of navigate that?
Oh, it was great because I was a DB my whole life. So I had my first year coaching. I started working with the DNs.
Yeah. And
my defensive line coach, his name is Seth Dameron. He's at Bakersfield College right now. He's like, hey, I don't know anything about pass drops, so you're going to teach our boundary end how to drop. And that was kind of my role, was to figure that out. But I just gained a lot of respect for what goes on in the trenches. So I just didn't really know, and you just learn a lot about football. Like, I didn't really know what an over and under front was. I didn't really know any of that, I always knew what my 3-tech was, but I didn't really know what it was called. So just learning all that did really help me. In the moving, I coached some outside linebackers and stuff too. And it, just helps you put the full picture together of a complete defense.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think when you look at some guys who are even older in their profession, they've been DB guys majority of the time, or D-line guys majority of the time. Sometimes they can be reluctant to a 7-on-7 zone. I'm a D-line coach. I'm about to go get a snack and
no doubt,
run the halls, or vice versa during the inside for a DB coach. And I guess having that exposure early on and being able to learn some of those things that are very important. Like if you're a linebackers guy, obviously you got to know your fits. You got to know where your D-line is. So you kind of get the opportunity to learn that. But over those couple of years, I think having that experience is invaluable. Maybe you didn't know it at the time, but I'm sure this situation now, it's such a big deal to be able to know that. Now, what other kind of, anytime my first opportunity was a Division II graduate assistant as well. I had a position group. I coached receivers. I did laundry. I lined the field. You did all the stuff. What needs to be done, you got to do it. So what other kind of hats were you wearing, and how did you learn to excel in those multiple roles?
Yeah, so my big extra kind of job was equipment. Was my big thing, and ordering all the apparel, organizing the cleaning room, and I actually loved it. Like I did the laundry, I handled our work study. You have work study guys who make money. That's like their job, and they did that stuff. But it really just helped me just realize what all goes into it.
Yeah.
And I used to see my head coach when I was playing doing the laundry. I'm like, what is he doing?
Yeah. And
I took a lot of pride in knowing that, like, when my head coach came down to the equipment room or the locker room, like, that thing was going to be nice.
Yeah. And
it also just helped, like, with my organizational skills of figuring out, okay, how do things need to get done, and what's the most efficient way for it to happen. So I think it did help me being a young guy at a kind of a smaller school. I had to do a bunch of different things, but I love ordering equipment. I still, like, even to this day here at CSU Pueblo, like, I design all of our logos, all of our shirts, just because, my head coach trusts me to do it, but I enjoy doing that stuff.
Okay.
I enjoy all that.
Well, I was going to ask about the shirt you got on, because it's pretty sick. I like the old school helmet. Did you design that?
Yeah. Yes, sir, I did.
That's dope.
I did.
Cool, man. Well, one thing I always like to ask on a podcast, because I do think this is probably a unique deal for you in the sense that you played basketball for a while, and you come back to your alma mater as a graduate assistant. And I say come back, you never left. And so some of those guys, some of those guys, some of those guys you saw Friday, Saturday nights in the off season at, the local whatever, some of those guys you were playing PlayStation with or whatever, right? How do you come put that line in the sand and say, hey, look, man, I know just a few weeks ago we were homies kicking it back in the dorm, but our apartment or whatever, but now our relationship doesn't necessarily have to be different, but you have to navigate it differently, I guess.
For sure. It was a unique time because, number one, my brother was on the team when I started coaching. And so I was coaching my brother for a little bit. And like you said, a bunch of the older kids, like when I was playing basketball, we used to go and have kickbacks and party together all the time.
Right.
And so I think I just came in with a very open mind. Like, listen, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm not going to hang out with you guys like that. But also I was like, just let me earn your trust. Let me earn that I can show you, I can coach you and make you better. And then I also, I even tell young guys now, you can't be, I don't think you can come in there and just start screaming and yelling at them all the time.
Yeah.
You kind of have to be not their friend, you just need to love them up all the time and positive and encourage them all the time. Just because you don't want to ever come off in a bad way, no matter how mad you are, when you were just so close to them.
Yeah.
Because that time will come. Once you've earned their trust after a little bit, then you got them. Yeah. And you can be your true self. I was just very cautious. I didn't want to be the yeller. I was always just the encourager, loving them up, having a ton of energy, things like that. So, but it is a very fine line. It is hard. Our corners coach right now, he played for me last year, and he's coaching guys that he played with last year.
Yeah.
It's a hard line you got to deal with. But as soon as you separate yourself. But you just have to come at them with a lot of respect and know it's weird for them too.
Yeah, absolutely.
But once they realize you can help them, once you realize that you can help them, and they realize that, you got them.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you can't beat the coaching part of it, right? When they realize, and when you realize you can impact them, it's pretty cool to probably see your friend. I had never been in that situation, but over the years doing the podcast, we have a ton of guys that immediately GA at their alma mater. It's a question I asked, and I've heard all kinds of different answers in regards to how they approach it. Most being that you have to have that professional relationship, but sometimes the head ball coach comes and sits down and says, "Hey, look, man, You're not going to be partying or hanging out at the bar with these guys. You got to make sure that you respect that. So I will ask you, since you kind of got it on the flip side now with your, I believe you said the corners coach over there. Did you pass him off any advice like, hey, bro, like, you know, you got to make sure you can't be out on Friday nights with these dudes and all that kind of stuff, or you letting them figure it out?
No, I think I'm definitely helping him. He's a smart kid, and we always knew he was going to be a coach. He's played for me for a few years, and so we've kind of been preparing for this.
Yeah.
So I just said, listen, this is kind of the same thing I told you. Like, you can't go out and be with them.
Yeah.
You can't go drink with them anymore. You can't go party with them anymore. You just can't do that. And you just have to know anything you ever say to them, they're going to be, you know, basically evaluating you, right? And he did a great job. This spring was his first semester, and he did a great job. And all the players came in and said, Coach, just coach us now. Like, we see you've been working on your craft. He does all types of things, with like coming and talking to me or going and trying to watch other videos and just learn how to be a better corners coach.
Yeah.
And they all said, just coach us now. You guys just coach us. So I just think you know, being yourself, not coming in there and screaming out on day one, you know, understand that you admit that you're young and you're going to make mistakes, and that's okay. You don't know everything. You're not going to be perfect. Yeah. And then, you know, have one-on-one meetings and talk to them and earn their trust. I think those are the biggest things we've been working on with him. For sure.
There you go. So, you know, obviously you have a heck of a run there that made some from playing basketball, from playing football to playing basketball to student assistant to graduate assistant. And then in 2016, you have the opportunity to kind of get promoted to coach special teams coordinators, DB's coach there. You know, just talk a little bit about that promotion in a industry where everything just goes so fast, and sometimes you don't get to stop and smell the roses. You know, how excited were you for your first full-time opportunity, especially at the place you played at?
Yeah, it was a crazy time, because at first our defense coordinator at the time was leaving, took a different job, and I thought I was going with him. That's what I first thought was going to happen. I thought I was going to go with him and be a GA again, actually at Tarleton State, and so that's what I thought was about to happen. And then it didn't. Then our head coach promoted another guy to defense coordinator, and he's like, "Hey, I want you to be your special teams and coach DBs." And I was kind of blown away. I didn't think I was really ready, but my DC told our head coach before he left that I was ready to be the DB coach. And so once I heard that, I was like, okay. And it was amazing. I was getting married that summer, and it was just a huge blessing from the Lord that I was getting promoted. You know, I still wasn't making a ton of money, but I was making a lot more than I was.
That's
and
right.
just to have benefits and just to have that security with my wife, and you know, I was just fired up. I guess at that time when I realized how special it really was, I just thought this is what happens. You do a good job, you get promoted. And a lot of it really didn't change, except my main mentor, who was mentoring me, left, and now I had to do it all by myself. And it was special, though. I would say that it was special.
Good, man. I'm happy you're able to kind of at least recognize it, because, like, I mean, you don't get a big article, a big party, or nothing like that. You just show up the next day and you have more responsibility, and you got to be on it. You just that much closer to getting fired almost the next day. That's all that really happens. But no, that's awesome. I love highlighting some of those W's inside, you know, your personal career and all those kind of things. So now, during this time, you coached an All-American kicker, All-American safety. In 2017, y'all were 5th in the nation with 8 block kicks. So, you know, not only did you get the opportunity, kind of ran with it, been able to produce some guys to, you know, receive some accolades and also be ranked. Now, was this your first time stepping into that special teams space, or were you already kind of doing some of that stuff as a graduate assistant? I
mean, I think as a young GA, you kind of do all special teams wherever you can. It was my first time really calling it, and I learned from a great guy that we'll talk about probably at some point. His name is Michael Gobriel. He's actually a special coordinator for the New York Giants right now, but he was our D-line coach and special teams coordinator when I was a GA. And so I just learned from him and just kind of took everything he taught me, and I kind of tweaked it and made it my own. Didn't really know what I was doing. Played around with some things, had some amazing players, and put them in some spots, make some plays, and so. But that's when I was like special teams. I started to, you know, really love it. As a player, I didn't like it very much when I was playing. I hated being on punt, but it was fun to kind of take it over, you know, because even now I get these special teams. The best part about it is you get to coach the whole team.
Absolutely,
that's one of the best parts of being a special teams coordinator. You coach everybody, and so I really did love it. And you know, I was thankful that my head coach gave me the opportunity, because he was a big special teams guy. So he was always in my ear about everything, but he also just let me make mistakes and then fix them.
Absolutely. Now I'm thinking about how younger you were at that point in time. And, my last year before I came here to the AFCA, I was the special teams coordinator for the first time. And, that first special teams meeting when I looked up and it wasn't my 15 receivers or, 7 running backs that I had all those previous years, it was kind of, not intimidating. I'm not a shy guy or anything like that, but it's like, God dang, this is all these dudes, and I got them for the next 50 minutes. And, you realize kind of the responsibility that comes with it as a young guy. How did that, what was your confidence level in coming in and sitting in a room and saying, hey, I got these 4 units and I'm leading the way, and, I'm coming here, I got a voice, I'm talking to guys I don't spend a ton of time with, because they're not in my position group. How was that for you to handle?
It was an adjustment. I think back then I was probably, I was just young and dumb and didn't really think much about it, and just had because I always thought, okay, if I prepare for it and I make an awesome meeting and I feel confident about it, then they'll feed off that. And so as long as I was prepared, I felt good. I've always been comfortable talking in front of a large group. And I actually, crazy story, I used to have to teach PE classes at Mesa when I was there. So I had to teach a health class to 150 kids every semester. And I always use that time to try to get more comfortable with speaking in front of a group. Yeah. Because talking to 105 or 150 college kids about health and, hard, weird conversations about, sex, different things like that in college, that's uncomfortable. If I can do this, I can talk special teams to the team. So I always use that time to kind of practice different things I wanted to do and how to teach things too. So, but even I've grown so much from even then. I didn't know what I was doing until really, I went to Washington State, and that's where I was a special teams GA. And now I've worked under 2 amazing guys, and now I kind of have something more built of this is how we're going to do it. Yeah. Back then I was just making stuff up, what I thought was cool, what I thought was going to work, and had no really plan for it. Right. And a lot of young coaches do. So it was good though. Made a lot of mistakes, had a lot of fun success, fun times, and learned from everything.
Absolutely. I love that you kind of said that right there, because I say this again, coach, an All-American kicker, an All-American safety, 5th in the nation with 8 blocks over that time frame. But all the stuff that you just said was totally true. I've said on the podcast multiple times. I think about coaching my first couple of years at when I was coaching at the collegiate level, and I was like, man, I was not very good. But those players love me to this day. You know what I mean? They would never believe that I was very good, because you just learn so much as you go through and you make the mistakes and you learn from the lumps. And so it is a part of it. And if you're on that end of, making a mistake, man, just know that we all have. We've all been there, especially early in our career. So, after a heck of a run there at Colorado Mesa, you get the opportunity to head to Fort Lewis College, still in Colorado. What led to the change of scenery, and then, what led to you ultimately getting that job?
Yeah, so I kind of, going into that last year, we had a lot of success. We turned kind of Colorado Mesa around. We went 9-2 3 years in a row. Finally went to the playoffs the first time in a long time, did a lot of different things. I kind of felt like it was time for me to make a change. I didn't feel a lot of growth for me there. I've been there including going to college for 9 years. Yeah. So I was trying to try something different. And then this Fort Lewis job kind of happened. Joe Morris was the head coach there at Fort Lewis at the time. And he just called me, and I had to drive. I actually drove down to Durango, Colorado. It's probably about a 4-hour drive from Grand Junction. I drove down. I actually got a flat tire on the way, and I changed it in a snowstorm. And so I got into Durango, and I was all dirty and just a disaster. I had to get the tire changed in Durango. Crazy story. Did a little bit of an interview, and then a few days later, offered me the job, and I just felt like it was time to change. And went down to Fort Lewis. I wanted to learn from Joe. Joe was a defensive guy, and I wanted to learn what he had done, because I always felt like Fort Lewis overachieved, and they were really good defensively. So I wanted to go see what that was all about. And that's kind of led to it. My wife and I took a chance. I know it was just in Colorado, but it's still 4 hours away from kind of where we were from and everything. It's a different part of Colorado. It's kind of a ski resort town. So it's beautiful. Durango is amazing. It's just a ski resort town and tourists all the time, and football is not the most important thing up there, but still, there's a lot of good coaches who come from Fort Lewis. Absolutely. And I just wanted to go try something new.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, it's interesting you say that because you kind of segue to my next question here. Obviously, you had that longevity at one place, right? You're there for 10 years, but for you, that actually connected to, you just been a high school kid, right? So you never really, minus going from high school to college, like got out and, had to go load up a U-Haul, had to go pay rent, had to cut your electricity off, just all the little things that go into picking up and moving. It's a big deal.
For sure.
And so you make that first adjustment, for the first time. So I totally get why you want to go explore water and broaden your network. And like you said, go and learn.
Yes, sir.
Now, one question I do have is anytime the interview thing pops up, I do like to ask a little bit of, how was your interview kind of set up? What did you do? What kind of question they asked? Were you on the board? Did you bring a presentation? Did you go outside? Did you coach a position? What'd you do?
Yeah, so I was young and didn't really know. So I had a whole presentation made, ready to go. We went and had lunch. And then we just went up to the office, and Coach Morris is kind of old school, and we just drew on the board.
Oh, okay.
That's all we really did. And I just drew up what we did at Mesa, and how I taught things to the DBs, how I taught things to the backers, a little bit of the D-line play, not a ton. That was kind of more his specialty, what he wanted to do. And I knew he had a system that he wanted to run. Yeah. He just kind of wanted to see me teach things. Yeah. And if I'm being honest, more like because of that whole my tired and flat tire, that whole day was a blur. If I'm being honest, because I was stressed out because I was when I got the flat tire, I was in a spot with no service, and so I couldn't tell him what was going on, and it was snowing, and I couldn't get the tire out. It was just a whole ordeal, and I don't remember a ton about the actual interview. I thought I did terrible. Yeah. Honestly, and I just happy that my tire got fixed and I was able to go back home. So it was an eventful day. Yeah, I haven't talked a long time, so that's good.
Well, it sounds like minus the details, you won't forget all that stuff happened that day. That's for sure. Well, you get there to Fort Lewis, special teams coordinator, defensive backs coach. How did you approach this? This is your first time walking into a place and, have to establish who you are as a coach to not just, 105 players, but, also a staff full of guys, had to kind of earn your keep. And, that special teams meeting I was kind of referring to a little bit earlier where you're in front of everybody is a little different because you don't really know anybody those first couple of times you do it. How'd you approach that job?
Yeah, I was just really excited to have especially with the DBs, just to kind of have a group that didn't really know, and just to come in and show them, hey, this is how I want to do things. I had the success from Mesa, bring that over. Yeah. We had played them and all that stuff as a success. So I just approached it just with an open mind. Like, this is what I want to do, but also if you have stuff from your old DB coach, the old DB coach I was there, I thought did a good job. If there's old stuff y'all want to carry over, let's do some of that. I think when you take any job, my goal is to find the older guys in that room and connect with them first.
Yeah.
So I had 4 seniors, and my goal was to get and connect them. And there was one of them that was super hard-headed that I just felt like, hey, I'm going to figure you out. Mm-hmm. So I used to meet him for lunch up on campus. He used to come to office all the time. I used to force him to come to office, and we would just talk just about random things. And now me and him to this day are very, like, he's one of my guys I'm the most close with now that we're, he's done playing everything. So that was my main thing, was to come with an open mind and figure out who my seniors are and the leaders are and go and attack them and get them on my side. If I get them on my side, everyone else will be as well. Special teams was a little bit different because I had more of a defensive role there. And so we kind of had it with some young guys. I kind of oversaw them all. So I was trying to train them, but also then at some point had to kind of take it over. Just, we didn't have a ton of coaches and things like that. And so it was, again, I just had to change. We just had different types of athletes. And at Mesa, we had a lot of success on special teams. So it was easy. Yeah. At Fort Lewis, we didn't have a ton of success right away. So trying to get kids to buy into what we were doing on teams, it took a minute. And unfortunately, I wasn't there long enough to really get it rolling. But it was, I think it's coming with an open mind and trying to find the right kids to get to buy in with you. Any job you take.
Yeah. Sure. This is kind of a random question here, but I ask it from time to time here on the podcast is like, if you kind of had to have a chapter name and a summary for each of your stops, what would be, what would be the chapter name and summary a little bit of Fort Lewis?
It might be a long one. I just think I didn't leave on great terms. But I think I was young and dumb, and I needed to be humbled. Is what I think is the biggest thing I learned from being at Fort Lewis.
Okay.
I thought I knew everything. We were winning at Mesa. I thought a big part of that. I go in there, the head coach, me and him don't always see eye to eye. Me and him were great. We're good to this day now, but I was just young and dumb, and I needed to be humbled. That was the biggest thing I could say.
Man, that's huge, man. I appreciate you sharing that. And I don't know to what extent you can, pound on, obviously not every last detail, but what you said you didn't end on good terms. So kind of what was the ending? I don't know if you were let go or whatever, but how did the whole, did you see it coming? What was the deal there?
So we didn't have a great season. Defensively, we did pretty good, but just not as an overall team. I ended up getting let go in November, right after Thanksgiving. I was there for 8 months and got let go. And it was just a hard time. I kind of had an idea, but I didn't really see it coming. I didn't think it would just because I just gotten there,
right.
Moved my wife there and everything. And, we just got let go, and that started a whole different chapter.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
And it was, because at that point, I didn't really have the biggest network. I didn't really know. I was still young and didn't know how to get a job. I took this job to network, to learn all different things. And so getting let go, first of all, getting let go is not fun, especially when you're young. It's your first time having, everyone says, a football coach, you're always going to get fired. It's going to happen at some point. It's very, very true. I just didn't think it was going to happen to me, my 4th year coaching.
Right.
And I thought my guys did okay, whatever. And so it was hard, man. I'm not going to lie to you. It was hard because I couldn't find it. After that, I couldn't find a job. It took me a really long time to find another job. And so we stayed in Durango until our lease was up in February. And I worked all different types of jobs in Durango. I worked at a park and rec place for basketball games. I worked at a flower shop during Valentine's week and everything. And I just did everything to kind of keep us alive. And bless my wife. She worked 2 different jobs too, just so we could just survive. Because Durango's expensive. So just survive. And then we actually had to move back home with my parents because I couldn't find a job. And so moved back home with my parents. I worked at a Gold's Gym for about 4 months as a salesman and trained some people too. And that's when it all hit you like, hey, I never want to do this ever again either. Yeah. I'm going to find my way back into this profession and I'm going to figure it out.
Right.
Actually, on my desk right here, I have my card from Gold's Gym taped on here. So I remember I'm never going back to that. I'm never going back to that.
Right. Yeah.
And so just it was a very hard time for me and my wife. I think we were very blessed to have my parents kind of help us out and we were, to have a place to live and kept all of our stuff in a storage unit. And then luckily in June, I got a call from my mentor, Marcus Patton, who gave me my first job at Mesa, kind of hired me. And he was at Tarleton and said, hey, I don't have a full-time job. I have a part-time job. Do you want it? And I said, yes. I need to get into this. Cause I still have a whole folder in my email of all these different jobs I applied for and calls I got and interviews I had. I had nothing. I applied for over 120 jobs and just couldn't get anything. And so it was hard. I don't know what the Lord was doing with me. I think he was just really humbling me and to understand to not take this for granted, and that staying in this profession and getting a job in this profession is something that is hard, but also you need to understand that it is, when you get one, to really dive in and to not, to learn and not be an arrogant little young guy. Be a humble guy and learn. And so, it was a hard time.
Yeah.
It was a hard time.
Well, it sounds like you took a lot from it. Not, even if it's beyond the, the getting over humbled, being humbled and all that good stuff. But, you're going to get fired one day, or you're going to be out of a job, or, something's going to happen. I mean, I've seen coaches win and not have a job. I've seen guys be in a national championship and get fired the next day. You know what I'm saying? And so it's unpredictable. And at that point in time, man, our staff got let go. One of the staffs I was on, and man, it was tough. It was extremely tough because, every day that went by, you felt like you were getting further and further away from it. And like you said, you start doing these odd jobs. At any point, I am curious, did you say, man, you know what? Maybe this coaching thing in for me.
I don't think so. I always just had faith that it was going to happen. I was going to get back into it. You know, because it's what I wanted to do. You know, I had opportunities. I even interviewed. It's crazy. I interviewed for a high school job back in Grand Junction where Mesa is for a head job, and I didn't get it. And I was like, "What in the world? Like, I can't." I know I killed that interview. I know I did great, but I think it was just the Lord just steering me to stay. I'm gonna stay in the college game. It's gonna take you 6 months to get back into it.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't think I ever really doubted it. There's probably nights when there definitely was, but I didn't know what else to do, if I'm being honest. I didn't know what else. So I had to get back into it somehow.
Good. Well, you stayed the course, man. And, you know, I'm more asking those questions in regards to you guys listening to Hang Out Fired, or you guys listening about to step into the profession. This is part of it, man. You know, and like I said, they don't all look the same, and it's not always going to be for the same reason. But man, it's going to happen, and you're going to be challenged in those times while you're waiting on that phone call back, you're waiting on that email response back, and you're going to be discouraged and all that kind of stuff. But stay the course. I mean, you've obviously gone you had a heck of a career up to this point, but you continue on with that. So you help out with the safeties there at Tarleton in 2019. Have an 11-1 record. You're winning conference champs. Coach 3 conference DBs. Shoot, what do they say? It takes sometimes a hard fall leads to a high bounce, and so you kind of bounce back and have some major success. Just talk about your time there, kind of reuniting, because this is the same guy. I was going to ask you in the story. This is the same guy that left. You was hoping he took you with him initially, right?
Yes, sir.
So
yes, sir. Yeah. So Coach Patton's one of my best mentors and one of my best friends. He's awesome, and so he gave me an opportunity to go back. And it was great. Like I said, I was just a part-time guy. So I'd go back to doing jobs that I hadn't been doing, at Fort Lewis or even at Mesa. Like I had to, I don't know, just really every little job at Tarleton. Yeah. But it was great. I met some really good friends I'm still really close with today. I went from having my own office to sitting in a room with 4 other guys. Yeah. And being an older guy when, I was probably 29 at that time, and all these other guys were, 25, 24, even younger than that, and just kind of being the leader for them. But it was great though. Like I love Texas. A lot of my family is from an hour and a half down the road from where Stephenville, Texas is. So it was great for that. My wife loved it. She got a great job. The Lord, his donor at Tarleton hooked my wife up with this amazing job. And it was just fun to be at a place where football is very important. Like Tarleton right now is blowing up because they love football there. Oh, yeah. And that was our last year Division II was when I was there. And we probably had the best team in the country. We just got beat in the first round because we played terrible. But we were one of the most talented teams in the country that year. So it was just really fun to be around. It was awesome. I did learn a lot though, because I did struggle. So I went from being a guy that had a lot of say on a staff to where I was just at the very bottom again. And I did struggle with that because I thought I worked hard to get to where I was. And now I was just back to kind of, basically being a GA again. Yeah. It's basically what it was. So, but it was a great time though. I have a lot of good memories from Tarleton.
Well, I think you kind of saying that last statement is a testament to the profession a little bit, because it is a roller coaster. I mean, as far as responsibility goes, you might coordinate and you might end up being a position coach, or you might, in your example, or you might be making 6 figures and, financially you might get that cut in half just based on the job that's next, or it might 10 times the following year. You just don't really know where it goes. And sometimes, you have to remind yourself in those moments, where you're sitting in an office with 4 people and you're shaking your head and be like, hey, you know what? I'm happy I got this call in June. Let me get back to work. I'm happy to have a job. You know what I mean? So you mentioned earlier, you transitioned from Tarleton State to Washington State. You talked about, with a heavy focus on special teams here at this point in time. Obviously it's your first FBS job. It's another big move. You move from, Central Time Zone all the way over to the West Coast. Just talk about a little bit about that transition and what you took away from those 2 years.
Yeah. So the transition was great. My wife didn't want to leave. Didn't want to leave Texas. She just got promoted at the job she was at and didn't want to leave. I was going to get promoted to be like the DFO kind of thing as Tarleton went to FCS. Like that was what I was supposed to be happening. And then Michael Gabriel again called me and said, "Hey, Coach Rolovich got his job at Wazoo. Do you want to come be our GA?" at the time, like I was 30 already. So I was kind of like right at that window. Like I had 6 months to be a GA again at Power 5. And I told my wife, like, hey, we got to go. I got to go see what this is all about. I looked at me getting my master's in football. That's what I wanted to go and do. Yeah. I wanted to go learn from some big time coaches, see what that level's all about, see if I like it. And so I took it, and it was awesome and crazy. So I got there, and we were there for about a month, and kind of with the whole transition, Coach Olvich brought a lot of guys from the Hawaii staff and some different guys from Wyoming. And so I knew some of them. Like I knew some of them already, and it was great. There for a month, and then COVID happened.
Yeah.
And so I go and I live with Coach Goby for a little bit in his house. And then Coach Rollo said, hey, if your wife is not here, go back and be with your wife. So I actually went back to Texas. That's where my wife was. Oh. And I was in Stephenville, Texas for 4 months because everything in Washington was shut down.
Yeah.
And we were just waiting. The whole COVID stuff with the Pac-12, it was just a waiting game. And so I went back home and stayed in Texas with my wife, and it was great because everything was open. All the other coaches in Washington, everything was closed. Mm-hmm. So it was a crazy time. The whole COVID experience and everything, especially with dealing with college kids and trying to figure out their lives, and it was hard for everybody.
Right. And obviously, I don't want to dive too much into. I know Coach Rollo pretty well, and don't want to dive too much into that. But ultimately, he's to depart Washington State. Missed this COVID deal. So, kind of what happens in that time frame? I guess with you, because y'all do an interim for a season, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, for half the season. So yeah. So for me, like our first year during that COVID year was crazy. We played 4 games, not great. Coach Goby, guy that hired me, left, went to the NFL. Hired new guys named Kyle Krantz, who's another one of my really good friends, mentors. And we come in for 2021. Pac-12 has a normal season. After it was week 4 or 5, we had just finished playing BYU. Coach Rollo gets let go on a Monday. And then we have an interim. Coach Dicker comes in. He was our defensive coordinator, comes in, and he's our interim for the rest of the season. And it was just because not only the Coach Rollo let go, but 7 other of our people on our staff let go too.
That's right.
And so it was just crazy because our offensive staff brought in some other coaches to come in to help coach the rest of the year. And, our players were amazing and rebounded really well. We go to a bowl game, we go to El Paso for the Sun Bowl. We're supposed to play University of Miami. They end up dropping out because of COVID. Yeah. So we find another team. Michigan come in, like it was just a range of emotions. It's not sunny. It rains on us the whole time in El Paso. And it was just it was just crazy. Well, looking back.
Go ahead, finish.
I just say it was just crazy. Just a lot of different things happened. I think a lot of us from that staff, some of that staff are still really close because of how much we went through.
Absolutely.
During that time. There's a lot of I would say it's just really hard. It was just really hard for a lot of people.
You know what? I feel like I'm gonna blame that snowstorm that you went to that job because it's been chaos since the snowstorm in the story. Like it's just been crazy. Just everything that's happened, how it's laid out. A DFO job. You kind of just mentioned that you're potentially going to transition to a DFO. You get this heck of an opportunity. The guy leaves in a year. I mean, holy mackerel! Just a crazy. What is this? 4 years?
It was crazy 4 years.
About a 4-year span of just all that can happen in the game of football, just kind of happening at once for you. And so that time of Washington State, as crazy as it was, kind of comes to an end. But before I transition out, oftentimes I know you mentioned they brought some guys in to help offensively. Did any of your responsibilities elevate losing 7 coaches on the staff?
Yeah, so I ended up having help more on defense. So I, because I was really just strictly special teams. That's how Rollo wanted me to be. Just so, when I was there, only the GAs could coach in the field. Mm-hmm. So it was just important to him to have a special teams GA. And I would help the safeties in Indy and different things like that. But as soon as all this transition happened, I was more involved on defense. I helped them break down film. Yeah. I did personnel on game days. It's just different things like that to kind of help as much as I could. So yeah, it was. I think all of us kind of had a little bit more to do, mm-hmm. but it was Yeah, it was fun though.
Yeah.
It was fun, just great.
Yeah, definitely. I can only imagine rewarding, and obviously in the time of some of the stuff that you've been through, like I said, since that snowstorm, it's not always great when you're going through it. But I mean, what a better coach, better person that you have to be on the back end of all the craziness and all the events, and you get in a program and a disaster strikes. I mean, you know how to handle it at least a little bit better than what you would have if you didn't experience some of this. Now, you ultimately end up with a special relationship here. You in 22, you take the job at Western New Mexico as a special teams coordinator, defensive backs. It's with your current head coach.
Yes, sir.
Once again, how did you go from a GA to the DB's coach there at Western New Mexico?
Yeah, so once Coach Dickert officially got the head job at Wazoo, once the interim tag was taken off, he got a head job. He let go the special teams coordinator I was working for, and I got transitioned to defense. I was a defense GA. Once he got taken over, and that was fine. I was having a good time. And I found out my wife and I, we were pregnant with our first kid, and I was like, okay, I've learned what I wanted to learn. I need to go get a job. Yeah. And again, I couldn't find a job. I went to convention. I interviewed some different things. A lot of older guys got the job over me, for whatever reason. And then I interviewed at Western New Mexico with Coach Vigil. Coach Bill Vigil, and I actually knew him. We both played at Mesa. My first year being a GA, he was our quarterbacks coach at Mesa, and so I kind of always known him. We have all the same friends, and so he called me and said, "Hey, I have this job," and I was like, "Okay," and I interviewed for it. And I was like, "There's no way I'm going to West New Mexico. Like, they're not good." I don't know why he even took that job, right. And so I interviewed, and I thought I did pretty well. It was just kind of a standard Zoom interview. And then he called me. I was actually babysitting. I still remember this call. My wife and I took three of our another coach on staff at Wazoo, took them to a jump park. We were babysitting for him so they could go and have a date night. And I was in their minivan. He called me. He goes, "Mac, I interviewed about 10 other people, and I'm not going to do this. I never really do this without talking to my staff, but I'm going to offer you the job right now if you want it. It's yours if you want it." And I remember sitting there, and there's a nice little sunset. I know it sounds cheesy, but and just feeling, okay, the Lord wants me to go.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but he wants me to go to Silver State, New Mexico. And so a few days later, I called him and I accepted it. And then I drove down. Actually, he flew me out to get out there before spring break, and I flew up and went to Silver State, New Mexico. And it was, honestly, going to Silver City in Western Mexico, one of the best days of my life. It was one of the best 8 months I could have ever ask for. Yeah. We had my son there right the night before our first game. My son was born. We win. We win 6 games, the most wins they've had in over 35 years there. And really, for me, it was awesome. I lived 5 minutes from the facility, so I just coach ball, and I'd go home and hang out with my child. Like it was incredible. And I didn't really care what people thought about my decision. I was just happy to be doing my own thing. Right. Not being a GA anymore. And like I said, I had a much better blueprint of how I wanted things to run, especially special teams wise, because of the guys I work for. Like I said, I went to Wazoo to get my master's in special teams, and I came out of it thinking, "Hey, I did. Yeah. I know how to do this now." And so I was just fired up just to do that. And Coach Vigil let me do it the way I wanted to do it, and it's been one of the best things I ever had to come work for him.
Yeah,
for sure.
Well, I say this, man. I'm not a big reader, or I'm a kinesiology major, not very smart in a lot of ways, but man, this sounds like some symbolism, if that word means anything. That snowstorm, just the chaotic 4 years, and then you're talking about, I distinctively remember the sunset, and that been a part of kind of the decision making, and then all of a sudden you take this job that I understand the decision that's made. That's why we do the podcast, right? You went and made this decision because, man, I got to do what's best for my fam. I got to do what's best for myself. Any other day I might not take this job, but for whatever reason it resonated to take that job, and then all of a sudden, man, you're able to be a heck of a dad for your newborn, a heck of a husband for a wife that's at home, not even at home. Yeah. She's in the middle of nowhere in Mexico with a kid trying to navigate it, oftentimes in this profession by themselves, and you're able to be available and have some success, man, and it leads to all the success that you're currently having, man. So I'm gonna chalk it up to a little symbolism right there, man. The snowstorm to the sunset, man, and all of a sudden the tide turns a lot to some great opportunities. So Just talk a little bit about how your head coach ultimately ended up taking a job at Pueblo, and I guess
Sure.
the communication between you two for you to follow him over there.
Yeah. So like I said, we had a good season that year at Western Mexico. It was his second year there. It was my first year.
Okay.
His first year, they went 1-10, and then we went 6-5 or 6-4 in Division II games, and we should have won a few more. Honestly, we should have probably won 8 games. And we just had the right group of kids that bought in, and winning always helps. You know, we were very transfer and junior college heavy, and we just got them to buy into each other.
Yeah.
And Coach Vigil does a great job about that. And so we won, and then all of a sudden he gets the opportunity to come here at CSU Pueblo. I felt pretty confident that he was going to bring me with him if he had an opportunity to, just because we were close, and you know, we're just good friends and everything like that. And so that happened. All of a sudden, I was sitting there, and the AD calls me from Western New Mexico, like, "Hey, let's talk." And so then all of a sudden, my mindset changed because he wanted me. He was going to either promote me or offensive coordinator to be the head coach of Western New Mexico, and that's my whole kind of mindset switch. Okay, am I ready to be a head coach? Yeah. I've always wanted to be, but am I ready? And do I really want to follow Coach Vigil? Because I think he's very good at what he does. Long story short, I didn't get the job. He promoted the offensive coordinator. Coach Hickman's still there, and he's awesome, does a great job. And as soon as that happened, you know, Coach Vigil was kind of fighting for me, like, "Hey, if you don't get this, you better come here, right? You better come here with me." And I said, well, I called him, "All right, I'm coming." And so then we come to CSU Pueblo. It's a crazy story. I was in Florida when basically offered it to me, and I was on vacation with my family, and we interviewed a bunch of different people for different spots. And then next thing you know, we're here on January 3rd doing this press conference and recruiting and rolling. Yeah. It was a blur. It was a blur for sure.
Well, he named you the assistant head coach, special teams coordinator, defensive backs. You know, obviously that assistant head coach role is awesome to have, regardless. I mean, it looks different for every program how they utilize that guy, but just being able to be named that says a lot. You know, why after just a short year were you the guy to kind of be his assistant head coach and help him with everything with the program?
I think he just trusts me and I trust him. Yeah. You know, like I'm valuable to him because of what we do on special teams. I think I'm a big special teams to me. Like I said, you get to coach everybody, and a lot of it is trying to implement the culture that he wants through special teams, right? And that's how I look at being a special teams coordinator. It's like head coaches talk to the team the most, the strength coach does as well, and then you have special teams coordinators. Like they talk to the team the most, and so trying to find the culture that he wants, and just we have the same vision and the same values that we're going to preach out to the kids, and I think he values that, right? And I don't, you know, one day maybe I'll be a DC or offensive coordinator, or defense coordinator, but right now I love just being special teams. I think he likes that about me, and he trusts me, and I get to do a lot of stuff that he doesn't want to do for our program. But also, like, we've had some staff turnover here in the past few years, and he's, you know, I've been pretty loyal to him. Like, I've had other opportunities, and, you know, part of my journey in that snowstorm, I think I was taking jobs to take jobs at times. Yeah. And now it's more, what I value the most is who I work for. And especially, I have 2 young kids now, and crazy story, his wife works in labor and delivery and has helped both my children be born a little bit in some sense of matter. And so, like, that means a lot to me, and I can just trust him with everything. And I took jobs not doing a full background check on the people I work for. And that's hurt me in my career a little bit too, right? And I don't ever want, and it's also made me not love my job where I've been. Or here, I walk in every day, and I know my head coach has my back, no matter what, and I have his back no matter what, and that means a lot to me. And so I think that's part of the reason why he kind of gave me that title, was he wanted to keep me here, but he also wants to grow me so that one day I can be a head coach. All right, so that's a long answer, but I love my head coach I work for. I think that's important to any young guy. I think you can go and chase jobs, it's great, but at some point when you start having kids and you start, you know, want to be with your kids and hang out with them, it's all about who you work for. Man, all about who you work for.
I love the fact that you said that, man. And you know, we've had some coaches over time say that, and definitely a lot more of the mature ones come and say that. And it's easy to be young. It's easy to see the logo on the shirt. It's easy to see the paycheck get a little bit bigger and say, hey, man, I'm going to go chase that. But, man, when it comes down to it, and I got to spend, 14 hours a day in a meeting room with a group of men that we all got a little ego, all got a little personality.
Oh, yeah.
Man, you better enjoy it. You better enjoy it. If I'm going to, hopefully I don't have to miss my kid's recital, but if I'm going to miss it, I don't want to be miserable missing it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so some of those things, man, you get a little bit further in your career, and you say, man, you know what's important. And yeah, there's jobs out there where you can do it all. You can have a nice logo and have a nice paycheck and have a good dude. But man, don't walk in those rooms blind, because it can be tough, man. That's some heck of advice. Man, I've enjoyed this, man. I've obviously known you for a couple of years here, and seen the resume, knew that you were at these stops, but sometimes how these things shake out and some of the stuff that you go through, man, are so valuable, hopefully to our listeners. Before I let you go, you're part of the AFCA 2024, I believe, 35 on 35 class. Just talk to us a little bit about, what it meant to you, and then also why would you wouldn't encourage others to apply for it?
Man, getting selected for that was probably one of the coolest experiences of my life. Like, I'll tell you, when I got the email from you, I was sitting outside my parents' house, and I just run outside and I start screaming. And my wife thought something crazy had happened, and I was just like, I told her, I was not expecting. I'd applied for it when I was early, and then when I first became a full-time coach, I applied for it, and then I wasn't a full-time coach for a while, so I couldn't, and then I did it, and somehow I was chosen. So it meant everything to me. Like, I was kind of at a low point where I'd been passed up on a few jobs. And then I got that. I was okay. The Lord is always working on something, and He just gave me a lot of encouragement because I was chosen for that. And so it meant everything to me. And then the whole experience is awesome. Getting to network with the guys in my class, getting to network with the guys from older classes. I'm actually Coach Bosky, Kate Bosky's in it as well, and I work for him. And then Kyle Krantz I work for, he's in it as well. So like I have some guys that I know they're in it. And I'm like, okay, I want to be in this with them. But just getting to know everybody, and then the day that we get spent with that you set up for us and we get to learn was just incredible. Just coaches come in and really just get to share their hearts to you. It's about the profession and just give great advice. Like, I still have so many notes I took that day from what we learned. So it was awesome. Anyone wants to apply, highly encourage it. It's definitely worth it. It makes you a better coach learning how to apply for it too, because you have to put your stuff together to get noticed, especially, coming from a smaller school. There's not a lot of small school guys that can always get chosen. And so you have to be really good at what you do to put that in to get noticed. So I appreciate you and the whole, AFCA 35 kind of group that put that whole thing together.
Absolutely, man. Well, we enjoy having you. We enjoy what you've done to elevate it, with the success that you've been able to help produce in your jobs kind of since you've been in there, man. And I've enjoyed this hour, man. It's been awesome getting to know you a little bit better, man. Hopefully I can see you in Charlotte here in 26, okay?
Yes, sir. Well, I appreciate you, man. I really do.
All righty.
I really do.
We talk soon, man, okay? Have a good one.
Yes, sir. Thanks, Mario.
When communication counts, trust the headsets trusted by the best. From high schools to the biggest college programs, CoachComm keeps coaches connected and teams prepared to win. Learn more at CoachComm.com.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Inside the Headset, presented by CoachComm. If you'd like to learn more about this week's episode, head over to AFCA.com. There, you can access every episode and find corresponding show notes. Remember, you can catch every episode of Inside the Headset, presented by CoachComm, on wherever you get your podcasts, including Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. While you're there, we'd love for you to take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. Your feedback helps us improve and grow. Keep up with the latest news by following us on social media. Connect with us at Inside the Headset, and remember to tag us when you share your favorite episodes. For more updates on all things AFCA, be sure to follow the @WeAreAFCA social media accounts. If you're not a part of the AFCA community yet, Visit AFCA.com to join thousands of NFL, college, and high school coaches nationwide and across the globe. Elevate your coaching game with an AFCA membership. You'll gain exclusive access to the annual AFCA convention, magazine, digital library, and AFCA Insider email. Stay up to date with the latest stories and news on the AFCA website. More than just a convention, the AFCA offers continuous education, guidance, networking, and more. Celebrate the past and shape the future with the AFCA. It's about fostering exceptional coaches who create outstanding teams and even better individuals. Invest in your skills and make a lasting impact today by engaging with the AFCA. Your journey starts here.